Hello class, this is Nina, your project management instructor and coach. Today's video is covering the topic of the 10 knowledge areas that are part of the project management framework. These knowledge areas include integration management, scope management, schedule management, cost management, quality management, resource management, communication management, risk management, procurement management, and stakeholder management. Let's get started.
Each process, each of the 49 processes belongs to one process group and one knowledge area. So we went through the process groups. Let's get through the knowledge areas, and then we'll cover each process one by one. Not today. Today we're going to cover 10 knowledge areas. So knowledge areas. I'm not going to start with the first one. First one is integration. I'm going to do integration last, and you will see why. Next knowledge area is called scope management. Scope management is about what it is that we're going to deliver as a result of doing this project. What does that mean? That means that we have to plan our scope management. We have to make sure that we collect all the different types of requirements, legal requirements, technical requirements, business requirements, customer requirements, all kinds of requirements. We have to make sure that we define our scope, what is included in our project, what are we doing, and what's scope out, what we're not doing as part of this project. So if you're building a website for me, one of the scope out things that you might want to document is ongoing maintenance, right? You're not going to be supporting my website once it's launched. That can be an example of an out of scope thing I'm not focusing on in this project. Then we have to break that scope down, and we have a process called Create WBS, Work Breakdown Structure, that breaks all that scope into smaller manageable pieces called work packages to make sure we don't miss anything in our project scope. Then we have to make sure that we are validating our scope and controlling our scope. So all of the processes in our scope management deal with the what, with the deliverable, right? With the thing, the product, that goal that we have. A project is a temporary endeavor with a beginning and that has a specific goal. That goal, we're delivering that product, that service, that improvement, that result. That's what our scope is. Scope, our focus. What is the focus of our project? That's our scope management processes. So processes that are in scope management deal with making sure that we are accomplishing that which we have been hired to accomplish, to achieve that goal. Our next one is schedule management. Sometimes people refer to it as time management as well. What is schedule management about? It's about making sure that we have specific activities that are needed to accomplish our scope, that we have estimated their duration, that we have sequenced them, that we have understood the relationship between those activities in terms of which activities have which interdependencies, and being able to then develop a schedule. It also has to deal with how do we control that schedule? How do we make sure that our project stays on time? A lot of projects have a hard time staying on schedule. So our processes in schedule management make sure that we're able to develop that schedule and to be able to monitor and control our schedule by doing what? By making sure that we're calculating our earned value management, making sure we constantly know what is the status of our project activities, and doing any adjustments needed in order to make sure that our project stays on time. So that's our schedule management. Our next knowledge area is cost management. Cost management deals with the budget, right? So we had scope management, which is the what. We had our schedule management, which is by when. And now we have our cost managers, how much money, right? Staying within the budget. So it deals with our planning, our costs, our estimating of cost, our making sure that we can determine our budget, and making sure that we're measuring our performance in terms of our spending, of our actual cost against our earned value. Now, the cost, scope, and schedule are the three baselines that make up our performance measurement baseline. The performance of a project is judged against how well we do in terms of being able to deliver what we're hired to deliver, delivering it by the deadline that we're supposed to deliver, and delivering it within the budget that we're supposed to have. I'm getting echoes and I hear myself on one of your devices. Can you guys mute? Thank you. I'm hearing myself twice and it's disturbing. All right, cool. So performance measurement baseline consists of our schedule, cost, and scope baselines that we develop in our project. So those are three very important knowledge areas. Then we have other knowledge areas. We have quality management. Quality management, we make sure that we identify quality standards for our project, that we have a plan for how will we improve our processes if a process in our project is not working well, that we know how are we going to measure quality, assure quality, and control quality. Because not only do we care what we deliver, but we also care to make sure that our project is delivering the deliverable with the quality standards required of it. So then we also have resource management. Resource management deals with all the processes in terms of the resources and like equipment, supplies, all of that stuff, but most importantly, human resources. Why is that important? Because our project team will need support. We will need to acquire that project team. We will need to develop that project team. We will have to manage conflict and resolve conflict. We will have to be able to understand the needs, the motivators, and understand how to improve the performance of our project team. That's really, really important as far as our resources are concerned. We also have our communication management. And that is one of my most absolutely, like I love communication management because so much of how we communicate will impact whether we are successful in our project or not. So if we are able to understand the communication model, and you guys had a chance to watch the communication model video, and I will add additional content when it comes to communication when we get to that part. We have communication model, different communication types, push, pull, interactive. We have verbal, we have written, we have formal, we have informal. Crafting our communication properly, understanding the necessary frequency of communication, understanding all the components of how communication works, and managing that communication is an amazingly important part of being a successful project manager and having success in the projects that you're delivering. Another knowledge area that is very critical for us is risk management. And when we say risks, we sometimes think about bad things like, oh, risks are bad. Not all risks are bad. There are positive risks and negative risks. Positive risks are known as opportunities, and negative risks are known as threats. So knowing that we have positive and negative risks, opportunities and threats in every project is important. Identifying those risks, assessing those risks both qualitatively and quantitatively, and being able to understand the different strategies for how to deal with the risk is really important. There are various strategies, both for positive and for negative risks. And then selecting a strategy and creating a risk response plan for that strategy, right? So this is my plan on how I will deal with this risk. This is who is going to be responsible for the risk response for this specific risk, and then tracking the risk in the risk register throughout the project lifecycle and making sure that we're monitoring our risks to make sure we're implementing the risk response properly and that they are looking at new risks. Risks don't just appear at the beginning of the project. We identify risks throughout the project life cycles. Things change, stakeholders change. Different things will change that will result in new risks having to be identified. So it's really important. It's a very important knowledge area. In addition to risk, we also have procurement management. Procurement is fun because, procurement is not fun at all. It deals with contracts, bidding, your subcontractors, and all of that stuff. The fun part is that we actually have a framework that can help us with it. Procurement process begins with a make or buy decision. So the moment that you decide that you're going to outsource something, get somebody else to do it for you, you have selected the buy option. So if I want, let's say the videos that I'm making for you guys, right? Well, I'm recording them, I'm editing them, I'm doing all this stuff and putting them together. So when I made a decision to make or buy decision. I chose to make myself. I could also choose buy option and send content to a video editor and have them make it. Now, make or buy decisions also end up resulting in cost, scheduling, and other consequences, right? So if I decide to hire an editor for my videos, the quality might be better. Like they might be able to get rid of some of the background noise or some other things. Or actually I can just play with my 2-year-old instead of making videos, right? That would be the benefit, right? However, there are costs associated with it, and maybe it would be too much going back and forth because I'm very specific about how I want, what I want in there, how I want it, because I want the students to get the most important pieces, that it's clear. So there are certain implications of whether we choose make or buy. And that can be for equipment, for supplies, for work itself. We might outsource somebody to edit the video. Or I might outsource somebody to shoot the video. Like, not like we're like some big movie production, so I don't need to do that. But if we're making educational videos for a company that what they do is education and people are paying for that education to actually get a good video, they probably want to outsource it or develop internal capacity to create professional level videos. So, if you don't have the capacity, you have to go the buy decision. If you are too busy or you're afraid that it's going to take too long or that you rather not be bothered with it, you can then outsource it. But if you have internal capacity, if it's cheaper to do internally, then you probably choose to do it yourself. Or if you just feel like you're the best one to do it and that anybody else, the quality might be lower, then you do it yourself. So there's a decision to be made with procurement management, and we'll talk a lot more about it. There are contracts to be signed once we decide to do the buy decision. There is bidding process, bidding conferences, making sure that the contracts are being executed properly, and all that stuff that's accompanying that. And that's what procurement management portion of project management is. That knowledge area covers those specific processes. And last but not least, and then there's one more, the first one, is stakeholder management. Stakeholder management is very important because why? Well, we learned today that a stakeholder is what? Any person or entity that can either positively or negatively impact your project or be impacted by your project. So clearly, if somebody or some agency, organization has a capacity to impact my project, I want to have processes that are going to help me in making sure that I'm engaging those stakeholders, that I've identified them, that I understand their impact, their role, their preference in terms of communication, and how I need to engage them in order to have positive outcomes. That's why we have stakeholder management knowledge area. And then that first knowledge area that I left for last, integration management. Integration management knowledge area consists of processes that require all the different knowledge areas and knowledge to participate and to be taken an account of, taken into account. So, for example, project charter, developing a project charter, which we're going to learn next session. That process actually involves is located in initiating, because we need a project charter to be signed and authorized to start a project. So that's the process group it belongs to. And it belongs to integration management. Why does it belong to integration and not scope? Why does it belong in integration and not cost and not schedule? Because it requires for us to consider scope, cost, schedule, risks, like in form of constraints, quality, procurement, stakeholders. It requires for us to consider all the different knowledge areas in order to do that one process. So we can't put it in any one individual process. Instead, we have to integrate all of those knowledges from other knowledge areas. All of that knowledge has to be integrated and taken into account in order for us to successfully develop that project charter. Because it's not just schedule that we're dealing with. It's not just scope. It's not just cost. It's all of the different parts of project management knowledge that we need in order to develop that one official document that marks the beginning and officially kicks off our project. Those are our 10 knowledge areas summarized. Any questions? You guys can unmute yourselves. Please ask away.
Anybody?
It's a lot of stuff, right?
Yes, a lot of
So I always tell my students, if you don't